creativity and the Chinese key. If you could speak on that a little bit.
Okay, well, I'm not as much of a world traveler as you, though I've been to quite a few countries. But in 1980, I had the chance to go with the first delegation from Harvard to China after the Cultural Revolution. The Cultural Revolution was this incredibly disruptive period in China from 1960 to 1980, where Mao Zedong kind of went nuts and began to kill many people and really tried to destroy Chinese history. I mean, he wasn't all bad, but he was very bad at the end of his life. So I became very interested in China and education in China, and I made several trips to China in the 1980s, the last one with my wife and our then very young son. And I studied the Chinese educational system, particularly arts education, because we haven't talked about this until now, but I've been very interested in arts education. I'm basically a musical artist type, and my wife is a visual artist, but also we both are interested in language, literary. So we began to go to Chinese schools. And we saw that the kids as young as 5 or 6 were incredibly good drawers. You know, the teacher would say, draw a fish in a fishbowl. And at the end of the period, the kids would all make very good images which looked very much like fish in fishbowl, or draw a flower, or draw a panda. And we were very impressed. And we said, these kids are really good artists. Then we learned, and that was a less happy thing to learn, is this: their drawing skills are done by learning to do it step by step in the same way you would program a computer. So there's absolutely no chance that you would make any wrong moves, basically just copying without any kind of understanding. So we said, well, we don't like that kind of educational system, because we want kids to be more imaginative and to draw things that they want to draw in ways they want to draw it. But then we did something which was my idea. It was clever. With our son, who was, as I say, young then, we had a stroller to push him around. And this was a stroller that was made in America, and it was a stroller that nobody in China had seen. So we said to the teachers, we want the kids to draw this stroller, because there was no way that the kids could have been learned to do this. The teachers said, no, you can't do it, bad. And they were very, very controlling, the way any teacher would be when there was somebody from abroad who was studying them. But we insisted. I said, we used a very Chinese thing. We said, our sponsors said we have to do this. Kind of like if we said Mao Zedong or Xi Jinping said we have to do it. So they let us do it. And the surprise, Taye, was that a number of the kids were extremely good. They were much, much better at drawing it than we expected. So they really were able to look at that stroller and to produce a good, we would call simulacrum, a good copy of it, even though they hadn't learned how to do it. So this really complexified my thinking. And I wrote a book called To Open Minds, Chinese Clues to the Dilemma of American Education. But because, as I said earlier, nobody wants to read all my books, there's a chapter in the, I think it's in the education book, I can check, which talks about what I learned in Chinese schools. Let me see. Yeah. And basically, this is the takeaway. I apologize for the long sleeve roll up, but the takeaway is you need to teach kids how to do things carefully and well and modeling it. But you also have to give kids a chance to explore. And here's the key notion. It doesn't matter which you do first. It matters that you don't neglect the other. The problem in American schools at that time, less now, but that's a conversation for another podcast, was that we gave kids too much freedom and not enough discipline. So they could draw crazy things which nobody has seen before, but they said, well, draw what things look like out of your school, they would have had no idea. In China, the kids could learn to do anything step by step, but if you said, now, here's a stroller, draw it, some of the kids would not have known where to start. They would have been afraid. Their teachers would have been afraid. Their parents would have been afraid. So that's one of 25. It's one of 50 articles, 25 in the education book, 25 in the mind book, where I try to say what I've learned in my. It's now at least 70 years of thinking about education, because we talked about myself as a child. I forgot to mention I also taught piano for 10 years. I was a piano teacher. Not very good, but not terrible. And many decades of trying to do research about the human mind in a very expansive way. I studied creativity, leadership, ethics, not just whether people can do well on an IQ test. That doesn't interest me.
Wow. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I apologize we went a little bit over the time, but the information that you was, sharing with me has been phenomenal, and I'm sure the viewers will definitely learn a lot from watching this, and they will go check out the book as well. Now, where can they get the book from? Do you have a website, or should they just go
Yes,
ahead and Google?
if you go to my website, but you can go to Amazon, Google, you can go to Teachers College Press. If you want, I will send you what you can say. But anybody who wants the book can get it. It's not a collector's item.
Okay. One day it will be, I'm sure. So like I say, I really appreciate the work that you're doing, and I definitely look forward to the work that you have coming in the future as well.
Me or my students, okay?
Definitely.
Okay. Good luck.
All right.